Hello and welcome to week 11 here in Psych Seminar. And the only thing we're really focusing on this week is the special assignment, and that is discussion 4. But it is a critical one. Now, the part 4 discussion, one of the important qualities of a scientist, and I think in particularly within psychology, with some of the controversial issues that surround the field, with the kinds of populations that we work with, and with the personal experiences we have with notable issues that exist within our world. The notion of a dispassionate approach to something. Essentially, the idea is I might go into a situation, or I'm reading about something, or I'm working with a client, and I have, whatever the topic it is, I have a dog in the race. So I have an opinion, I have a strong opinion, I have whatever. I've got some investment into an idea. Now, what we have to be able to do, both as a psychologist and as a scientist, is to be able to take our personal perspective and set it aside, and to enable ourselves to be able to look at circumstances, look at these topics from multiple viewpoints, open to the idea that we may actually change our perspective on these things, and embracing some of the values that make us psychologists. So there might be, let's say, populations that you might find difficult dealing with, even to the point of not wanting to deal with those kinds of people. If you are a person who has been abused, it's really hard to have perpetrators of abuse on your caseload. There's a certain amount of dispassionate sort of approach that you would have to take there. Now, there's a balance point between doing your job and being able to be dispassionate about individuals who push your buttons and self-care. That is an individual journey. For some, they may choose to work in places where the likelihood of that happening is very low, and therefore they're dealing with it that way. Other people actually approach dealing with perpetrators as a part of their recovery process. So here we see in psychology, psychologists, damaged goods, coming into the field and working with individuals who represent a population of people that they've been harmed by. It's not expected, it's certainly huge out there, but there is a philosophy within the field, particularly in clinical psych, that you can separate your personal life from the work that you're doing with individuals and remain committed to the ethic of every person is valuable, every person can undergo a process of change, you are a change agent, all of those things. Certainly don't want to set people up for failure or seek revenge in some way, to be able to separate yourself from that. At the same time, as scientists, we may have passionate views that reflect our own science reading, our beliefs about things like the environment or the vaccinations, or even, I'm just going into some specifics here, global warming, maybe our religious values and all those things, that we can hold those as individuals. We have a right to have thoughts and opinions about those things. Once we go and put into that scientific viewpoint, we open ourselves up to debate, sometimes on issues that we would rather not debate on, sometimes on issues that maybe I'm a little worried that if I look at the reality of data, it might, undermine the foundation of this belief I've held for a really long time. And the quest to be a scientist is often one that entails looking at your own belief systems and finding where are you going to sit in terms of your beliefs and understandings of the world and data that may support or contrast that. Understanding also, of course, the notion that a lot of times when we're doing quote unquote research on the web, we will find self-affirming things that just firm up. That's the way the algorithm works. But when we engage in true science, we may find things are, in fact, most of the time we'll find things are not that clear cut. That our perspective about issues A or B are not so black and white when it comes to the real world. So I, as a believer in the science that backs up global warming, I may come across data, I may come across valid and convincing arguments as to where that is not true. I can open myself up to listen to those, welcome the level of science there is. Maybe I'm a little more critical of those than I am of my, the science on my side. I'm still human, but I venture to be open to different ideas and to be able to, if someone's going to have me, do a lecture on the sociology of global warming or something like that, I would certainly want to have the capacity to be able to effectively represent the different viewpoints on that are reflected in our society and validate those as existing. And for an advocate of change within that particular area, those are the individuals that I would have to convince. So I better understand where they're coming from. So for this particular discussion, Pinker is challenging the reader to look at their own belief systems. Now, certainly there are belief systems that are carrying through this particular book, and people have commented on those. There's a clear bias. It's a science bias. There's no doubt about that. That is there. Pinker himself would probably argue that point as well, that there is a clear science bias here. But that's what we're studying. We're studying science, and scientists ideally should be able to separate their personal feelings about something and engage in good research, good acceptance of data, good critique of either side or multiple sides of an argument on a particular issue. So in this discussion, what I'm having you do is look at some topics that might be very, very important to you. Share those passions that you have and make the effort to look at how these things are more gray than black and white. At the end of the day, you don't have to give up on your beliefs. I mean, if you choose not to give up your beliefs in the face of mounting scientific evidence, then you're just being stubborn. That's your choice too. But it's hard to call yourself a psychologist if you're not willing to put your own stuff to the test, at least in practice. At the end of the day, you choose to believe what you want to believe. You are who you are. You have that agency, that capacity, that independence. But for this assignment to kind of get into that sense of ability to be dispassionate about something that you're passionate about, to play that role of the individual who's going to present both sides of the story. That's what I want you to do in this discussion. So it should be a mix of topics. I expect a mix of topics and mixed passions. If you're going to find yourself engaged in argument that's emotional, pick a different topic. We don't want to, we don't have to do those things in this class. That's not the purpose of this class. Might be the purpose of another class, like social problems or something, but it's not necessarily the purpose here. However, I think you should also be aware that individuals may respond to you from their belief standpoints. And if there's anything that we need to encourage is the kind of dialogue that can happen between people who disagree. We are seeing a degradation of that capacity at the highest levels at this point. People who simply cannot sit down with individuals who disagree with them and find common ground. That's a worrisome component of our world right now. So I encourage you to pick a good topic that you do feel passionate about. Pick your favorite one if you're willing to do that. Pick your second favorite one if you don't want to put that one on the line for this time, and engage in that process of finding the gray. And in order to do that, you have to separate your emotional connection to that particular topic. Okay, that is what we're doing this week. The following week is Thanksgiving. We're off all week, even though classes are supposed to go Monday, Tuesday, maybe even Wednesday. In all of my classes, I structured the calendar so there's nothing going on that week. There's nothing expected. There's nothing, specific to this class. It's everybody has this class off. That may give you an opportunity to catch up. It may give you the opportunity to take a break. That would be cool. Maybe both. I don't know what the other classes are doing, but certainly in this class, if you are missing things, now is the time. The time clock is coming to a stop on our classes here. We're week 11, and it's going to be important for you to get things in and get things done. Now that, of course, is excluding all of the discussions. Those are closed off and are not opened up again. But any quizzes and assignments certainly are game for you to retake if you can and improve your grade, or submit them. Get the work done. So I will also be using that week to do catch-up grading on those things that I know some people have already submitted. So it's a time for all of us to rest, relax, be grateful and thankful, and also get a little bit about that back work done. So have a great week, and then have a great week the next week, and I will see you the next time we're around. I will see you in those discussion boards. Looking forward to some really good conversations with you. Take care.